What's up, guys? It's Niko from Everyday Gaming. Just commentating over a match of two of the new decks from the Miyaji Club. On the left, I'm playing Narukami, and on the right, Josh is playing the new version of Oracle Think Tank. So, while we're just shuffling up and getting ready, I'll talk a little bit about how my mindset is with the matchup and how I play it and how I believe he plays it. So going in, I'm playing Excel, he's playing Protect. So I know that he's gonna beat me in the long run. There's no way that once he's ridden his 3 a couple times that I'm gonna be able to win the game unless I get a really good lead and I can use and I can get a couple rides off on my own. But other than that, I'm really just going to want to rush him early, putting him to 3 or 4 damage as quickly as possible. Preferably 4, so he really can only take... making it so he doesn't want to take a crit is how I really want to play it. I want him to drop cards early, or I want him to be able to... I want him to drop cards early so I can kill him later. Or I want to put him to 4 or 5 early so that he has to just drop everything. He has to block every attack. So I'm going first. I do get the ideal ride, but it doesn't matter because I'm going first. I can't attack. He doesn't really have an ideal ride. He doesn't play the circle, I don't believe. So, man, I get a crit, but it doesn't matter. Sorry about the damage. I know I move it halfway through. And I get a real good setup here with these guys coming out at 14. That card loves me. I see so many of it, as you can see. I don't know. These the games I play with him, I see 2 to 3 of it every game, and it really pressures him into actually having to block. And the hardest part is even if he puts rear guards out, I can retire them. So it's a really hard matchup for him to play. So I'm just going to be hitting with pretty good rear guards. I really don't have to call boosters at all because they're going to just hit regardless. If he was playing XL, it'd be a little different. He plays the Tetra, I believe. That's a really hard card to deal with. Him getting to look at the top 2 like that. And especially because it, even though you can only use its effect on call, it being left on board is pretty solid too, because if he gets a trigger, it goes up by 5. If he gets 2, it goes up by 10. Makes it very hard to deal with. You see here, I get another trigger, and I put power on Vanguard. I think he still attacks Vanguard anyways. He might hit one of the rear guards. I'm not entirely sure. Yeah, he does go Vanguard. So it's an easy 10k block. And I do get my ideal ride for 3. I get the Stinger. And he's back to having no front row, so my rear guards hit real good. Just real difficult for him to play against. So I got 2 14k rear guards and then a 24. If you can keep riding Stinger, the matchup gets really hard to deal with, because even if they do want to attack the rear guards, or your own rear guards is what I mean, it gets really hard for them to do, because you're going to continuously be getting more rear guards, because Stinger calls himself out when you ride over him, and you get to retire your opponent's rear guards. So it makes the matchup real hard, because that is one of, I feel XL's one of his biggest flaws, is a lot of time they don't have very many ways to gain value. So if your opponent trades into your rear guards, you will just kind of lose the game. So this deck makes it very hard for them to trade into rear guards, because if you're constantly getting rid of their rear guards, they don't have a lot of resources to combat that. So right now it's 2 to his 5, I think. Yeah, 2 to his 5. So you can see he's right in a position I want him. Even though he does, I think, have around 10 cards in hand right now, he's going to be dropping 5 at least every turn to stop every attack. So he's going to be losing cards quite quickly, and I'm free to just no guard things. Especially because he didn't ride the promise, so he's not guaranteed a crit. He does get the heal, which helps a lot though. Helps him bring him back down, the crit heal actually. So not too surprising with Oracle Think Tank though, because they can stack their triggers to an extent. And yeah, and then he throws 20 think it's 29 or 34 into my rear guard, and I'm not going to block that. I don't have enough hand, considering I can just do this and get rid of it. Now Death Scythe is such a good card to have in the XL, because if you're not playing another XL match, his column is empty, so he's always gaining the +3 or +5, and then so he's just a big man. He's really hard to deal with. A lot of damage. And now he 2s to pass me, and I should have just took it, but I didn't, because I was pretty confident that I could continue to beat him, because I think he's already behind, and I definitely thought I could punch through without having to put all effects on Vanguard. You see, dropped 2 cards already. I think, yeah, he decides to go to the perfect guard, so he's down 4, coming up to near 4 cards down already. Now the with protect decks, they just hate having those protect markers after in the XL matchup. It makes it so hard for them to play, because they end up having like 2 markers, and then they have 2 from their actual deck, and a lot of my attacks can be stopped with just 10 to 15 Ks, so you really want to just get rid of them whenever you can. Otherwise, they just sit there dead in your hand, which makes the matchup pretty hard, because it's definitely a matchup where you want to get as much value out of every card in your hand and get as much shield out. Now we see another new card coming out. I'm not sure what her name is, but she gets to look at the top 2 cards and put them back in anyway, which doesn't change the outcome, but does make it certainly difficult to deal with. But because she doesn't change the outcome, but him knowing, like, if he knows he's gonna hit 2 to passing is dangerous. He also can rearrange for a draw trigger, or he does play draws during his own turn, so he can draw the non-triggers out of the way, which makes the matchup pretty difficult. Coming back to my turn, I go in. I think this is my 3rd turn without seeing another 3, which is definitely not what I wanted to see in this matchup. Because I want to be getting as many XL columns. I want to be attacking more and more times every turn, and especially even if I draw either of my 3s, I'm either getting an extra attack with my Vanguard with the Detox Dragon, or if I see another Stinger, I'm just getting a bigger Vanguard and I'm getting another rear guard, which is definitely what I want to see. Now he 2 passes me again, and again I just wimp out and I don't take it. Because I know I can put I can put at least one of my rear guards into a position where it's going to take him a 15k to block, or 2 cards, because he obviously doesn't have 15ks forever. So, and there's the other one. So, really should have took it. He gave me opportunity twice, not using his perfect guard. I know I can't kill him this turn, even if I did hit double triggers. So I probably should have done it. But again, I was pretty confident that I didn't need it to win. Because, yeah, now he's down. He had 3 perfect cards in hand. So he has to drop so many cards to stop what are relatively small attacks in the grand scheme of things. But I think I have like 7 or 8 cards in hand. It's not like he's going to call a ton of rear guards. The only thing that might have really, really hurt me would be if he dropped Victoria's Deer, which I think he ends up doing, and I'm still fine, because he gets his Vanguard up really, really, really big, because Promises, Imperial Daughter, I'm sorry, whatever her name is 33 on her own without a booster, if she uses her effect on herself. So he goes to 41, 61, I believe is how big she gets here, which is a very scary column considering that he also deers this turn. But I believe that he actually misses it. I think he does miss it, and he ends up having to shuffle all of them to the bottom of the deck. I don't know why he he gives it to me here and then takes it back because he forgot that I needed to shuffle, which I don't know, wasn't really a big deal considering it was just a testing match. I wasn't gonna like lose any sleep over it. Normally whenever I play, people don't even give me they don't even show me if they miss, because technically you're supposed to confirm with your opponent that you didn't hit me. So here I drop drop 4 cards to stop this attack for no pass, because I did not want to mess around with this. Yeah, because I dropped for 42. Or I don't know to no pass it. I blocked for 52, 82. So, yeah, no, 82 is because he can only get to 81 because he's at 61 right now. So I do know to pass it. Just because I know even if he does hit 2 triggers, I think I'm all right. So now he just tries to get. I think he tries to get rid of my rear guards here, yeah, and. I blocked the first attack, take the second, because I have another one in my hand. And here is a card that I didn't think was all that good when I first started playing. Here I get the 4th Dragoon or Dragon Knight or whatever. So I see that I have a card install. I can't use the Death Knight, but I can use the Lizard Soldier Riki. He's a card I was hesitant on including at first. I didn't think he was too amazing or anything. But he does have a lot of niche uses like this, where I shove all my opponent's rear guards into the back, so that my rear guards that require him not having any front rows get to activate. And it can help in a matchup also where you can pull your opponent's boosters forward so you can kill them. And yeah, here he only has 2 cards in hand, so he just takes it, hoping to get a heal, so he can block the final 2. But he ends up not getting the heal, and we shuffle up going to game 2. He gets to go first, which is good and bad for me. It's bad, obviously, because he gets to see his 3 first, and that means I want to have to deal with Imperial Daughter even earlier than normal. And Imperial Daughter, or what? I think it's Imperial or what, the grade 3 that gives him the crit, and that is very harmful to me because I'm probably not gonna have a way to block it early, because 33 when I'm at 9 is gonna be, or 33 is gonna be pretty hard to block for my deck, considering I'm very offensive focused. I don't think I have any draw power in my deck. But at least I'm getting the first attack, and I want to hopefully get my ride, get the grade 1 who lets me draw an extra card. He's really what I want to see, because he's either giving me an extra card because I'm hitting and I'm drawing, or my opponent has to waste about a 15k shield so that they don't take the damage. And in the long run, I end up coming out on top of that because he gets to his 2 turn, and he can't activate any of his abilities that require counterblast, so he can't use like the new Tetra mages. So that's real good for me. So it's really a win-win, and I think no, I do not end up seeing it, I believe, but I do get to see the Rising Phoenix. Now, Rising Phoenix is such an amazing card in this deck. I am surprised that they didn't have it have any kind of cost, like Counterblast 1 or anything like that, but no, it just gets to come back whenever you bind one of your opponent's rear guards. So early on in the game, you're going to want to block with it, or you're going to want to ride it so you can Soul Blast it. Just getting it in the graveyard as quick as possible. It actually doesn't even help. It doesn't hurt if you damage check it, because if you hit a heal throughout the course of the game, you heal the Rising Phoenix, and then you bind something in your opponent's front row, and you get to bring it back. And that is something that XL decks really need, is getting free cards. So he rides another new one. I'm not sure what her name is, but she checks the top 5 for a grade 1 and puts it on grade 3 and puts it on top, and he actually misses it here. And the good part about that is you can, since you choose in Vanguard how you want your effects to activate, you choose her effect first, then your starter. So you ride her, put the 3 on top, and then you get to draw it immediately. So that's really good. Yeah, see here I'm ride the Phoenix. I just attack, and I see that's the card I wanted to ride, but sadly I don't get it. So he rides Promise, and he gets to stack the top 2 again. And since he does have more than 4 in hand, I do believe she gets to go off. I can't even try to block that. Take it, get a draw, which is really nice. But I do damage check Detonics, who is really, really, really useful in this matchup, considering that getting extra attacks against Protect decks is pretty nutty. I ride actually not sure what that card's name is. So I ride him and call my other 2 boosters. These guys get plus 3,000 if there's nothing in your opponent's front row. Since he has nothing, I get an attacker and a really good booster. And if they're on Vanguard, they do let you draw if you hit, but sadly it's not. And then I get to attack for 20. And he no passes that. And I get another Riki. The part about Riki that sucks is your opponent, it pulls everything forward except for obviously the booster behind Vanguard, because if you pulled up the one behind Vanguard, there's nowhere for it to go. So he rides or he calls another one of the girl who checks top for a grade 3, trying to get something that isn't Deer, because that is by far his worst ride. And he does have to put it on top, which at least lets me know that he's not drive checking more than 1 trigger next turn, or this turn. So we're just waiting to finish shuffling here. And now he makes I really can't stand this card. He plays the Tetra. Oh, no, what's her name? Maybe her name is Tetra Mag. No, what is her name? I actually don't know a lot of these cards' names from the new set. There's so many new cards. But what she does is counterblast 1. You get to draw the top card, and then you put a crit trigger from your hand to the top of your deck. So she makes, if you know what the top 2 are, you can really, really punch through a lot of your opponent's guard, considering that they can make it a 2 to pass now. Because before they had to dig for triggers, there was no way for them to ensure that there was one besides Deer. But this is one of their new ways. So he luckily doesn't get a second trigger, which would have been really scary for me. Because going to 5 this early would not have been good. And I stopped myself from going to 5. And I believe, yep, I get to ride the Stinger and just binding his front row again. Now, I'm not sure, I don't really know 100% what was in his hand, but I'm not sure if he's choosing not to call, rear guards to the front, or he just doesn't have them. And here I go to retire all his stuff, and I get the free Phoenix. But like I was saying, I don't know if he didn't have things to call, or he just wasn't calling them. And that's what I think makes this deck so formidable, is a lot of my effects and whatnot activate if you don't have things in the front row. So you can call them and hope I don't have a lot of my retire effects. But if I do, I'm going to annihilate your board and still get my effects off. So it really puts your opponent in a hard spot of whether or not they should call their units, because you can call them and get them retired, or maybe I don't, and then it stops my offensive power as well. But it's definitely what I would think is a hard matchup to play against. So he blocks, he takes 2 attacks, but he still does have a couple cards in hand, and certainly with CEO it's going to help him get more card advantage here. Using CEO to check the top card here. I think he leaves it on top. Yep. Oh no, he puts it at the bottom. Yep. Okay. So we know it's not a trigger, so I at least can bank on that, the fact that he isn't hitting at least double triggers. But this deck is very hard to play against. So he calls up a daughter, which thankfully I don't retire, I bind, so I can still deal with that card. I'm blocking for 32 here, 37, because I believe he's at 25, so that is a 2 to pass. I believe, yeah, so he hits nothing, which is really, really good for me, because he was starting to mount to come back, and I don't believe I get another 3 at any point, which is really scary. So I take the damage. That was him. That was the 3 I wanted. I take the damage just so that so to lower the chances of him hitting a heal trigger on his next turn, because I really don't want him healing, because I am trying to kill him this turn, I believe. I'm trying to at least put a ton of pressure on him. So yeah, I called it to the wrong unit. We do let each other take a lot of stuff back, especially when we built these decks the same day that we were playing them. You know, so we're just all trying to get used to what we're playing and what's going on. So sadly, he doesn't have any front row for me to retire, because if you ride the Stinger over the Stinger, you do get 2 retires because you get both their effects. But yeah, he doesn't have anything. Everything's kept in his hand. So he takes the first damage, assumedly hoping to get a damage trigger. So I just throw those 2 attacks out, because if he does Miracle Heal or something, at least those attacks did go through, because they wouldn't be able to go through with the Miracle Heal. So I get crit and another Dragoon. He does have quite a few cards in hand though, so I don't think I'm getting through. Now the Death Scythe is a very iffy card for me, because I'm still not sure if I'm going to be playing it continuing forward. It does have a stellar effect, and it does have, or both of its effects are really good. Getting to retire without counterblasting, and getting to gain power for if it's in an XL column or if it's in an empty column. They're both really fantastic effects, but the only problem is you're really not going to be you can only use this effect really once per game, unless you're riding like Stinger a lot, or Drill a lot, the Detonics Drill, because every time you ride a Stinger over a Stinger, you pull the Stinger out, so you're not getting an extra card in Soul. So you only have really 3 cards in Soul, so it's only enough for a Death Scythe and a Ricky, but I don't think there's too many great options. There is the 2 from the starter deck, that's Counterblast 1, Soul Blast 1, which is a little bit better in my eyes. So maybe I will play that coming up, but I'm definitely going to have to play test. He does also gain 10,000 on his turn. So here I'm just planning on how I'm going to guard this turn, because it is quite a scary turn. Both the CEOs gain +5, and he gives 1 +6, I believe, from the... I think, no, actually, he doesn't. The CEO only gets the +6, because he wasn't on board when he used the effect. So I'm just planning on how I'm going to guard this turn, seeing how much shield I have and how much I'm going to need to use here. So I block for 2 to pass. He does get 1 trigger, and he puts it on the bigger CEO column. It's going to be attacking for 35, and he attacks for 18 into my Vanguard with that one, 35 here, and I am able to block. So I believe he has 5 or 6 cards in hand. With the XL column and the fact that he has a protect marker is going to make this a lot easier. My Vanguard to his Vanguard. He doesn't have a ton of cards left. 2 to passes me, and I don't get any triggers. But this is only 16. He's forced to take it, and he doesn't hit the heal trigger, so he does end up losing the game. That was my last turn, so I was luckily able to finish, and just in time. So thanks guys for coming by. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and Stay tuned for more Vanguard content.